Are you ready to take a journey through the seedy underbelly of Los Angeles? Join us as we delve into the stories of the city's most notorious criminals. Los Angeles, the city of angels, is known for its glitz and glamour, but it also has a dark side. Los Angeles has been home to some of the most notorious criminals in American history, and in this video, we will be taking a look at the top 10 most infamous criminals to have ever walked the streets of LA. From Charles Manson, the leader of the Manson family, to Richard Ramirez, also known as the Night Stalker, these criminals have left a lasting impact on the city and its people. But before we get started, please make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified about our amazing upcoming informative videos. So sit back and join us as we take a journey through the criminal underworld of Los Angeles. At number 10 we have the Grim Sleeper. The Grim Sleeper, also known as Lonnie Franklin Jr., is an American serial killer who was active in Los Angeles, California from 1985 to 2007. He killed at least 10 women, mostly African-American women from South Los Angeles, and was known for his long periods of inactivity between killings. He was arrested in 2010 after DNA evidence linked him to the murders and was convicted of 10 counts of murder in 2016. He was sentenced to death. His case was notable for the long gap between killings, earning him the nickname the Grim Sleeper. Number 9. The Hollywood Ripper. The Hollywood Ripper, also known as Michael Gargiulo, is an American serial killer who is currently on trial for the murders of 2 women in Los Angeles, California and 1 in Illinois. He is also a suspect in several other killings. He is known for his nickname due to his alleged targeting of young women in the Hollywood area. He was arrested in 2008, and his trial started in 2019. He has pleaded not guilty to the charges. He is currently awaiting trial and faces the possibility of the death penalty if found guilty. Number 8. The Skid Row Slasher. The Skid Row Slasher, also known as Richard Chase, was an American serial killer who was active in the 1970s in Los Angeles. He killed at least 6 people, including a woman and her infant daughter, and was known for his bizarre behavior and mutilation of his victims. He was arrested in 1978 and later convicted of 6 counts of murder and sentenced to death. He died in prison by suicide in 1980 while awaiting execution. His case was one of the most high-profile and gruesome in the history of Los Angeles, and it had a significant impact on the city's Skid Row community. Number 7. The Sunset Strip Killer. The Sunset Strip Killer, also known as Douglas Clark, was an American serial killer who was active in the 1980s in Los Angeles. He killed at least 6 women, most of whom were prostitutes, and was known for his brutal methods of murder. He was arrested in 1980 and later convicted of 6 counts of murder and received the death penalty. He was sentenced to death in 1982 and died in prison in 2010 while awaiting execution. Number 6. The Black Dahlia Killer. The Black Dahlia Killer was an American serial killer who was active in the 1940s. He was so called because of his most famous victim, Elizabeth Short, known as the Black Dahlia, whose murder in 1947 was highly publicized in the media. The killer was never identified and the case remains unsolved. The murder was brutal and gruesome, and it's considered one of the most famous unsolved murder cases in the United States. The case has inspired many books, movies and TV shows, and it continues to be a source of fascination and speculation among true crime enthusiasts. Number 5. The Night Caller. The Night Caller, also known as John Floyd Thomas Jr., was an American serial killer who preyed on elderly women in Los Angeles during the 1960s and 1970s. He would break into their homes and sexually assault them before killing them. He was arrested in 1973 and later convicted of 6 murders and several burglaries. He was sentenced to life in prison and died in prison in 2008. Number 4. The Hillside Stranglers. The Hillside Stranglers, also known as Kenneth Bianchi and Angelo Buono, were American serial killers who were active in the late 1970s. They were convicted of murdering 10 young women in the Los Angeles area and were known for their use of torture during the killings. Bianchi and Buono were cousins and worked together to lure victims, mainly teenagers and young women, into their vehicle before killing them. They were arrested in 1979 and were both convicted and sentenced to life in prison without parole. The Hillside Stranglers case is considered to be one of the most notorious serial killer cases in American history. Number 3. Robert Kennedy assassin Sirhan Sirhan. Sirhan Sirhan is a Palestinian-American who assassinated Robert F. Kennedy, a United States senator and brother of President John F. Kennedy, in 1968 at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles, California. He was arrested at the scene and later convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. He has been denied parole multiple times and claims to have no memory of the shooting. The investigation and trial surrounding Kennedy's assassination is considered to be one of the most significant and controversial in American history. Number 2. Richard Ramirez. Richard Ramirez, also known as the Night Stalker, was an American serial killer and burglar who killed at least 13 people in California during the mid-1980s. He targeted mostly older women who lived alone, breaking into their homes and brutally attacking them. He was eventually captured by citizens in East Los Angeles and later was convicted of 13 counts of murder, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, and 14 burglaries. He was sentenced to death in 1989 but died in prison in 2013 while awaiting execution. His case was one of the most high-profile criminal cases in the history of Los Angeles. Number 1. Charles Manson. Charles Manson was an American cult leader and criminal who was convicted of orchestrating the infamous Tate LaBianca murders in 1969. He was the leader of the Manson family, a commune of young followers who lived on a ranch in California and committed 9 gruesome murders in the summer of 1969. The victims included actress Sharon Tate, who was 8 months pregnant at the time, and several other people. Manson and his followers were convicted of the killings and he was sentenced to death, but his sentence was commuted to life in prison after the death penalty was abolished in California. He has been denied parole 12 times and died in prison in 2017. He is known as one of the most notorious criminals in American history. As we come to the end of our countdown of the top 10 criminals of Los Angeles, it's important to remember that these individuals have caused immeasurable harm to countless victims and their families. Their stories serve as a reminder of the devastating impact that crime can have on a community and the ongoing need for law enforcement to work tirelessly to keep our cities safe. But it's also important to remember that behind every headline, there are real people whose lives have been forever changed by the actions of these criminals. Let's continue to support victims of crime and work towards a safer, more just society for all. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.